Well, 2017 was a record-setting year for cruises. More than 1.1 million passengers left from the port of New Orleans.
But before you go, you'll want to see this story from investigative reporter David Hammer. He shows us how emergency medical care on cruise ships can be a real nightmare.
Over Thanksgiving week, Brant and Danielle Amond finally took their long-delayed honeymoon, a week-long cruise to the Caribbean aboard the Norwegian Pearl out of New Orleans. 7 days afloat with gourmet food, drink, and entertainment on the way to the sunny beaches of Honduras, Belize, and Cozumel.
Cozumel was great.
Had a good time.
But when the week ended, those good times were long gone.
We got off, everybody's like, oh my God, how was it? And I was like,
Don't even.
no.
Don't even ask.
No. It was so bad.
They say the problem began when Brant was paddleboarding in the beautiful coral reef off the coast of Honduras.
It's just unfortunate. I fell off, and there was a piece of coral that came right up under the water that I didn't see. So I landed right on it.
There was a lot of blood hit the water, and so that's what freaked me out.
They bandaged Brant's feet with gauze and frantically hired a series of local fishing boats and taxis to get them back to the ship. A 2.5-hour ordeal. And Brant says it only got worse once they got to the ship's medical clinic.
And they took one x-ray, and then he said, everything's good. We're going to clean it out. We're going to stitch it up.
Ship doctor Adrian Gomez prescribed regular ibuprofen for the pain and an antibiotic their local hospital later told them was for intestinal bacteria, not foot wounds. Brant was in so much pain, he spent the last 4 days of the cruise in their stateroom.
We watched Wonder Woman, I think, 10 times.
Back home in Geismar, Brant tried to move on. A full-time National Guardsman, he resumed his desk job and even completed his drills on crutches. But 2 weeks later, as this photograph shows, his foot swelled and a rash crawled up his leg.
That infection spread for 2 weeks, and it's just, I mean, he could have lost his foot, he could have lost his life.
So Brant went to the emergency room at Our Lady of the Lake Regional Medical Center in Baton Rouge.
So they took an x-ray and immediately said, yeah, you have coral in your foot.
And that wasn't all.
I had surgery. They informed me that I had a severed tendon in the foot as well.
Brant says thanks to Our Lady of the Lake, he's walking again and in rehab. But doctors say he's far from the only vacationer who needed a local ER to clean up a cruise ship's medical mess.
We see patients come into the emergency department who have been treated or, I won't use the word mistreated, but not treated optimally when they've been on cruise ships.
Dr. Jay Kaplan of University Medical Center in New Orleans should know. He's the past president of the American College of Emergency Physicians, and ASAP establishes the guidelines for medical care on cruise ships.
Physicians on the cruise ship ideally would also be trained in trauma care and could do things like splint or reduce fractures. Those have procedural skills, sew up lacerations.
According to ASAP's cruise ship medical section, Norwegian requires its doctors to hold a recognized medical degree, a current valid medical license, and board certifications. But the Amonds haven't been able to get any information about Dr. Gomez.
Norwegian won't answer my calls, they won't return my emails, they won't respond to the claim. They absolutely have just iced us out.
Norwegian is a member of the Cruise Lines International Association, which has adopted the ASAP guidelines as its own policy. It says its members, quote, must annually verify their implementation of these policies.
Cruise ship companies where our members are our medical directors have been very responsive. I can't talk about the others.
Norwegian is on ASAP's cruise line directory, but it's the only one of the 26 cruise lines listed that does not name a medical director or consulting physician. So what happens if a cruise ship does not meet these guidelines? These are just guidelines, they're not requirements.
Right, nothing happens right now, and that's part of the problem.
Kaplan says travelers should ask questions before booking a cruise about the size of the ship's medical staff, the physician's emergency certifications, and whether the ship will evacuate passengers who get seriously sick or injured. The Amonds say if they do ever take another cruise, they'll demand it.
Your backup plan can't be that the boat is going to handle it. You got to have another another route.
Get off the boat. Figure out a way to get back to the States to seek medical care if it's in any way serious.
David Hammer, Eyewitness News.
We heard back from the cruise line. While it wouldn't comment on the Amon's case, it did say, quote, Norwegian is fully committed to providing medical services through licensed physicians and nurses. All of our ships feature medical facilities that are built, staffed, and equipped to meet or exceed the guidelines established by ACEP.